Matthew, 23rd chapter, first 12 verses. Then Jesus said to the crowds and to the disciples, "The scribes and the Pharisees sit on Moses' seat. Therefore do whatever they teach you and follow it. But do not do as they do, for they do not practice what they teach. They tie up heavy burdens, hard to bear, and lay them on the shoulders of others. But they themselves are unwilling to lift a finger to move. They do all their deeds to be seen by others, for they make their phylacteries broad and their fringes long. They love to have a place of honor at banquets, and the best seats in the synagogues, and to be greeted with respect in the marketplaces, and to have people call them rabbi. But you are not to be called rabbi, for you have one teacher, and you are all students. And call no one your father on earth, for you have one Father, the one in heaven. Nor are you to be called instructors, for you have one instructor, the Messiah. The greatest among you will be your servant. All who exalt themselves will be humbled, and all who humble themselves will be exalted." This is the word of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God.
When you're perfect in every way, I can't wait to look in the mirror, 'cause I get better looking each day. To know me is to love me. I must be a wonderful man. Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble, but I'm doing the best that I can. Verses, but I can't sing the church. Have you ever had to eat humble pie? You know, eating humble pie is to face humiliation for something wrong that you've done, and something that you have to apologize for, usually in a public fashion. The word humble pie, though, actually comes from a phrase of umble pie. U-M-B-L-E. And it was a pie they used to make over in England that was full of deer liver and hearts and all kind of other little innards that they could pluck out and stick in it. And it was usually fed to poor people as a source of protein, because rich people didn't want to eat that stuff. So they ate the umble pie. And it sounds about right that humble pie is a pie nobody really wants to get a slice of. Today, we often see, watching our television, watching news programs, many elected officials or people serving in high positions, even in church positions, having to break out the knife and cut themselves a big old slice of humble pie. Too often they try to pass that pie off to somebody else, so they don't want to eat that. It wasn't my fault. I didn't do it. Somebody else behind the scenes did it. They even made a television show about it called The Good Wife. Remember? The governor cheated on his wife, he got caught, and the good wife standing beside him at the podium while he makes his public confession. That was bothering me. I was always hoping that after he makes that confession that they'd slip out the back door that she's got herself a little rolling pin or something. Straighten him out. Humble pie. Not very many people want to bite into that very often. People start thinking of themselves more than what they should. We have an election coming up on Tuesday for school board and local officials. When we vote for folks, what are our expectations of them? We expect that they will go into their office to serve the community, to serve us in the community. Not to serve themselves, not to have their own agenda that they want to push forward for their own personal gain. We're hoping that they go in thinking about all of us and what will help all of us to grow and to move forward and to be better. To be held in a high position, they have to be willing to humble themselves to serve others. See, the Pharisees and the scribes, they were really bad guys. They held the seats of Moses. Jesus even pointed out they got a high seat. And because they have a high seat, you should respect them for the office that they hold. However, don't do as they do, because they do not practice what they preach. They wore phylacteries, which were big hats, almost billboardish, that would have scripture written on them, so people would look at them and say, oh, look at all the scripture on their heads. They must be smart. And their tassels were long, and embroidered into these tassels was the commandments. So they'd have wear long tassels because of all the commandments that they knew. And people respected them. And they would go to the marketplace and people would, oh, Rabbi, there you are. Hello, hello. And they'd go to banquets and say, I get the best seat. I get the first plate at the back. But Jesus tells us the last shall be first. The first shall be last. Those who are above you will be your servants, and those who are servants will be raised up. See, when we serve God, when we humble ourselves, we are raised. C.S. Lewis says humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. By thinking of others more. And others' needs. We're given an example in John where Jesus is preaching. And a woman is caught in the act of adultery. I mean caught. They're pulling her out of the bedroom. They've wrapped her in a sheet and they've drug her off right into the middle of the synagogue or the temple where Jesus was teaching, and they bring her before him and say, we've caught her. She's an adulteress. And our law says we stone her. What do you say? And Jesus stoops down. The Lord stoops down and starts to scribble something in the dirt. We don't know what he put there. We might have been drawing pictures or writing scripture. I don't know. But he stooped down. God stoops down. He comes to us in our brokenness. He stoops down. When we are in our sin, He stoops down. When we are in need of being lifted up, He stoops down. And they insist upon Him. What do we do? Do we stone her? That's what the law says. We get to stone her. And He stands up and says, that is what the law says. And the one among you without any sin can throw the first stone. And one by one, they leave their stones behind. Because they realize, as we should realize, none of us are perfect enough to throw the stone at another. Jesus says on the Sermon on the Mount, He says, why do you strain to find that speck in your neighbor's eye while you have a plank sticking in your own? See, humility is taking a stock on who you are. It's not just beating yourself up either. It's realizing that you have strength and you have value and that you are a good person. It's realizing that you are loved by God, but it's also realizing you've got a lot of work to do. We fail. We stumble. We fall. We need to have communion. And remember that Christ died on the cross for the sins that we continue to commit all the time. But He loves us still. He loves us still. In the midst of our pain and of our sufferings, He stoops down in a humble fashion to lift up us up. Are we ready to accept that we're not perfect? To stop straining for the speck in someone else's eyes? To realize we can't throw the stone at Eve. And to do what God tells us to do. Serve one another in His love. Thanks, Val. With that, thanks be to God. Our closing hymn this morning is Amazing Grace, My Chains